Welcome to OOTO TV, the out of the office investigation from the past into the future of health. This time, we're discussing developing AI prompt engineering strategy to build applications. I'm Ben, and I'm here with my co host, Alex. Hey, Alex, great to be here. Today we're really digging into a topic that is fundamentally changing how software gets made. We're talking about moving past just asking AI simple questions and really exploring the strategies developers need to engineer prompts that build real working complex applications.
Exactly, Ben. We've got a great journey planned out for everyone listening. We're going to start with the big picture stuff, the incredible promise of AI and, well, the paradox that a lot of developers are finding themselves in. Then we'll get down to the basics, the actual language of these models, before jumping into some seriously powerful frameworks for prompting. And of course, we'll look at a real-world developer's playbook and wrap it all up by showing you how to architect your own AI strategy. It's going to be a good one.
So let's jump right in with that big picture. Ben, the excitement out there it's just massive. You can feel it everywhere. Tools like ChatGPT and Copilot are being talked about as total game changers, and honestly, for good reason. The promise is that they'll handle all the tedious stuff, writing boilerplate, generating tests, debugging, so developers can finally focus on the fun, creative, big-picture problem-solving.
And you know what, Alex? It's not just talk. We're seeing the data back this up. Take a look at this. A DigitalOcean survey found that 45% of developers, that's nearly half, are saying these tools have already made their jobs easier. Think about that. For almost half the people in the industry, this isn't some future tech. It's here, now, making their daily work better and more productive.
But here's where things get really interesting, Ben. This is the paradox we were talking about, because that same survey found that 43%, almost the exact same number, feel that AI's effectiveness is overhyped and exaggerated. So, how can both be true? How can a tool be a revolutionary game changer for one person and a source of total frustration for the person sitting right next to them? That's the riddle we need to figure out.
And this quote from Fakhrul Islam's research just says it all, doesn't it? That gap, that chasm between amazing results and frustrating nonsense, it almost always comes down to the input. It all hinges on a skill we call prompt engineering. You have to think of it like being a good manager. You can't just yell a vague idea down the hallway and expect great results. You have to give clear, detailed, well-thought-out instructions. It's truly both an art and a science.
So, how do we start bridging that gap? It really begins with learning to speak the language of the AI. And that means we have to get comfortable with the absolute fundamental building blocks of how we interact with these models. Before you can build an app, you've got to learn the vocabulary, right? This is ground zero.
Right. Let's start with the absolute most basic element, the prompt. Now, on the surface, it's simple. It's your instruction, your question, but it's so much more than that. The prompt is the first domino. It sets the entire context, the entire direction for everything that follows. I mean it. Everything flows from that one initial input.
And of course, after every prompt comes the response. And this is key to understanding the frustration some people feel, because the response isn't magic, it's a mirror. If you give it a vague, fuzzy prompt, it's going to reflect back a generic, unhelpful response. But if you give it a sharp, detailed, specific prompt, that's when you get that high-quality, actionable output you're looking for. It really is a direct reflection.
And this leads us to what I think is the most powerful concept of all, fine-tuning. Look, building something real with AI is never a one-and-done thing. It's a conversation. It's a loop. You get a response, you analyze it, and then you make these little tweaks to your original prompt to get it just a little bit closer to what you need. For example, say it gives you a Python function, but it uses an old library. You don't just give up. You fine-tune your prompt. Okay, do that again, but use the latest version of that library and make sure you add error handling for a 404. That's the process.
And you can just picture that whole cycle, can't you, Alex? You can see it in your mind's eye. You type in your prompt, you get the AI's response, and then, critically, you have that chance to go back, edit, and refine. It's not a static command. It's a living, breathing feedback loop. This is what real collaboration with an AI actually looks like. You're listening to OOTO with research by author Paul Bulow. So we've got the basic words down: prompt, response, fine-tuning. Now it's time to learn the grammar. This is how we level up from just asking simple questions to giving complex, structured instructions. Prompting frameworks are like blueprints. They make sure your instructions are clear and complete, and they're the secret to getting consistent, high-quality results every single time. I absolutely love this analogy, Alex, because it just makes so much sense. You would never, ever walk up to a new junior developer on your team and say, hey, build me a social media app. That would be insane. You'd give them a detailed spec sheet, you'd give them user stories, you'd give them a plan. You have to treat the AI exactly the same way. It's incredibly smart and unbelievably fast, but it is so, so literal. It will do exactly what you say, not what you mean. It needs the plan. And that's exactly why these frameworks are so powerful. Let's start with a really simple but effective one, RTF. It stands for Role, Task, and Format. The example here shows it perfectly. First, you give the AI a role, act as a web developer. Then you give it the task, guide me step by step. And finally, you provide the context to have a Sudoku front-end game webpage. Just those three little things transform a vague wish into a structured, actionable command. Okay, so if RTF is the beginner level, let's level up to something a bit more advanced, like the CRISP framework. It builds on the same ideas but gives you so much more control. You still define the capacity, or role, but then you add insight, which is that crucial background context, like telling it, this app is for a bank, so security is the #1 priority. The statement is your core task, but then you get personality, which is so cool. You can say, explain this to me like I'm a beginner. And my absolute favorite, Ben, is experiment. You can tell it, give me 3 different ways to solve this problem, and tell me the pros and cons of each. Now you're not just getting code, you're getting strategy.
And when you look at all these different frameworks side by side, whether it's RTS or something more complex like RODs or CRISP-A, you realize they're all pushing you to do the same things. Give the AI a role, state a clear objective, and provide a ton of context. The specific one you pick just depends on what you're trying to do. The big idea here isn't to memorize all the acronyms. It's to start using a framework. Stop giving vague requests and start giving it a detailed spec.
All right, so enough with the theory. Let's see how all this stuff actually works in the real world. We're going to walk through a case study from Fakhrul Islam's thesis, where he built a Sudoku web app using AI. This is a perfect example because it highlights the amazing potential, but also some of the really serious pitfalls you need to watch out for. And here's the most important first step. Before you write a single prompt, you need a plan, a human plan. In this case, the developer designed the architecture first, a presentation layer for what the user sees, a logic layer for the game rules, and a data layer for the puzzles. You have to remember, you are the architect. The AI is the builder. That partnership, that division of labor is absolutely essential for any successful project.
But here it is, Alex. This is the dose of reality. This is where that contrary commentary is so critical. The developer gave a clear, specific prompt asking for valid Sudoku puzzles. But the AI, well, it confidently generated puzzles that were completely broken. It put duplicate numbers in the rows and columns, violating the most basic rule of the game. This is the lesson, right here. Even with a great prompt, the AI can be wrong. It can invent things that look plausible but are totally incorrect. You cannot trust it blindly.
So how do you protect yourself from that? Well, this quote from a developer on Reddit is just a genius strategy. Treat the AI as your brainstorming partner first. Tell it your idea, have it generate an architecture, have it create a plan, but, and this is the magic part, explicitly forbid it from writing any code until you, the human expert, have reviewed and approved that plan. It's a simple step, but it puts a critical quality check right where you need it. And that really leads us to the core workflow for building anything with an AI. It's all about iterative refinement. You have the AI generate some code, then you put on your quality control hat and you find the flaws like those broken Sudoku puzzles. Next, you go back and refine your prompt, adding new rules and constraints. Then you regenerate, you test, and you repeat that cycle until it's perfect. Exactly. That loop is the secret sauce. And that is precisely why you must design the AI prompt engineering plan to build application iteratively to improve efficiency and success. It's not about being perfect on the first try. It's about having a process that guarantees you'll get to a perfect result in the end. You're listening to OTOTO TV with research by author Paul Bulow. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. For our final section, we're going to build out a complete AI strategy. We've pulled the best practices from all our sources into one place to give you a kind of checklist for success when you're collaborating with an AI. All right, let's run through them. First and foremost, be as specific as you possibly can. Vagueness is your enemy. Second, use positive instructions. These models work better when you tell them what to do, like use this specific library, instead of what not to do. Third, always assign a persona. Saying act like a cybersecurity expert gives the AI so much valuable context.
Yeah, and let me jump in with a huge one, Alex. Provide examples. If you want output in a certain format, just show it in an example. It's so much more effective than trying to describe it. And this all leads back to a critical point. Managing AI prompt engineering strategy is critical to successful deployment. This isn't a tool you just fire and forget. It's an instrument you have to play with skill, and you must always assume that a human needs to review the work.
Absolutely. And a huge part of that strategy is requesting an outline before it generates the final code. We just can't emphasize that enough. Targeting an outline approach to AI prompt engineering impacts your application quality and functionality in a massive way. And when you do that, you have to define constraints, limitations, API, and technologies to build an application, which in turn helps the AI build effective routines. You have to give it the guardrails.
You know, when you put it all together, what we're really talking about is a huge shift in the developer's role. This statement really captures it. Understanding how to develop AI prompt engineering strategy to build applications with professional decisions and actions is the new frontier of software development. It's not just about learning a new tool, it's a whole new way of working. Your job evolves from being just a writer of code to being an architect of complex systems, and AI is a core part of that system. And to be a successful architect in this new world, Ben, your process has to change. You must request an iterative versioning process with defined goals and stopping points for your preview and qualitative code review, requiring your authorization for the AI to continue. Now, that might sound like a lot, but what it does is it outlines a process to provide the desired result for quality, accuracy, and security. You are the project manager. You are the quality gate. The AI is your brilliant assistant, but it absolutely needs your clear, expert direction every step of the way. So we'll leave everyone with this final thought. AI collaboration is no longer some nice-to-have skill on the horizon. It is the essential developer skill of today. The focus is shifting from just writing lines of code to architecting instructions, designing feedback loops, and guiding this incredible new tool. The question for all of us now is, how will you architect your next great idea?